How's it going? Mike here. The Fresh Rinse on location in Mason, Ohio to watch this beautiful home behind me. I'm gonna watch the whole house, but I wanna confess something to you. I'm changing out the 2.1 injector orifice for a 2.3 because the Fresh has been killing some plants lately. Our secret. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this on camera. I'll edit it, cut out all the fluff. I could use my vise, but because I wanna do this on camera, I'm going to just use a few wrenches here. We're gonna change out the 2.1 orifice for a 2.3 orifice. So at the input side of your downstream injector, you will find this little hex nut in there. Let me show you what that is. It's where I keep my downstream injector parts. I know that because that's what it says. My wife made the decal for me. However, sorry, I digress. I have a brand new pack of 2.3 orifices here somewhere. That is 1.8. See that? 1.8. Let's see. 2.3. There they are. 2.3. The way a downstream injector works is water is forced through one end of the downstream injector through this tiny little hole. There's actually a 1.5, 1.8 I use sometimes, 2.1 which I'm currently using, and now a 2.3. And the larger the number, then the larger the hole, which means more water is being forced out and dilutes the chemical more than, say, a 2.1 or a 1.8. So a 1.8 injector, I won't show you, just know that it's much smaller than this, so not as much water is forced through the injector. Therefore, when the chemical is siphoned through and into the injector and downstream, hence downstream injector, then less water is introduced into the mix, and so you get a stronger mix. Does that make sense? Well, it should. If not, rewind, listen to it again. But we're going to go from a 2.1 to a 1.8 injector, and I'm going to be using this number 4 hex wrench. Turn it out, just like so. There we have it. There's the 2.1. I'm just going to chuck it because I have plenty of them and they do wear out. As I'm doing this, let me tell you something. There are 4 components to a downstream injector, not 3. Most people say, well, it's either the spring or the ball or the O-ring. More often than not, if you're shooting chemical at all, if it's siphoning chemical at all, then the O-ring, the ball, and the spring are working just fine. The orifice has been forced to be wider as a result of time and pressure and water. From time to time, for me, probably every month or so, I will change out my orifice. I use a stainless spring and ball, and the orifices are stainless as well. I have a brand new orifice. I simply need to tape up this end of the downstream injector. We'll do that super quick, live and in color. I give it 5 or 6, 7 wraps real quick. Just use the cheapest Teflon tape I can find. Put that on there. Put my quick connect back on there. Again, normally I would use my vise for this, but because you guys are visual learners like the Fresh, then we're going to do this in person. All right, in person. I don't even know what I'm talking about. All right, so that only took a few minutes. We now have a 2.3 downstream injector installed. Let's go see if it'll wash the green side of this beautiful home. All right, you see this one is dirty on this north side. See there? So we're going to take our Flow Pro, turn it to mix. We're going to downstream a house with a 2.3 injector. 0 surfactant, 12.5% SH. I'm going to give my honest review here because I want to make sure that this works, and I want you, my humble followers, to get all the scoop. If it doesn't work, I'll tell you that it doesn't work. I can already tell you that my dwell time is definitely going to be longer. That's okay, it's a test. So I will tell you that the difference in flow when in soap mode or in rinse mode is hardly noticeable with the 2.3 using this 8 gallon a minute machine. When I was using the 2.1 orifice injector, I could easily tell when I was in rinse mode versus soap mode. Rinse mode flowed so much more powerful than soap mode. Now they flow about the same. So I think that helps to make sense. We're getting more water introduced into the mix with a 2.3. Therefore, the solution rate is less. It is diluted more. Not as powerful of a mix. However, let's go over here and see what we have on this side. I think it's going to take another coat. I'm going to rinse and then see what it looks like. We may have to do another coat. I'll come back and we'll look at it. Okay, I am not disappointed. It's very clean. But it's going to take, I think, one more coat. So we have to ask ourselves the question, if I'm adding more solution, does it really matter? Well, it's still a lesser toxicity. So it's still going to be safer for the plants. And that right there are nail holes that have been puttied over. Can't get that clean. Let's put another coat on there, finish that backside, come back and rinse. I'm sure we'll be done. Okay, as we approach this north side one more time, after a very minimal application, which would be the second application, it appears that it doesn't even need to be rinsed. Obviously it does, and I will. But what we're seeing is that the 2.1 injector with the 8 gallon a minute machine at 150 feet of hose, set at about 2,800 pounds of pressure, using the Suttner ST2700 along with the M5 twist and Davis shooter tip. It's a good combination. I'm going to go with it for a while, and when I get to a really, really green one, I think we'll be put to the test. So here we are on the front of the home. I'm not sure if you can see this or not. See how dirty that is. Right along the edge there. We're going to do a test area with our 2.3. See how well it does. All right, I have washed and rinsed this entire side. I'm gonna come back here, see what we find. And that mold, algae rather, mildew, what have you, is completely gone. Still gotta rinse it, little brickwork, do that front porch, and we'll be done. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back for a little review. Okay, I'm home. We'll recap just a little bit. So, I switched from a 2.1 downstream injector to a 2.3 downstream injector. I did that simply by changing the orifice. Real quickly, you can order the orifices from Judd West at Southside Equipment in Kentucky. I don't know, maybe $1 a piece, something like that. I usually buy about 20 at a time, something like that. He ships them to me, and I buy a pack of 1.8, 2.1, and 2.3, and I've got them on hand. I will go ahead and build me a 1.8 and a 2.1, have them handy. Now here's the deal. I got a guy here cutting down a tree. So here's the deal. Today, the temperature is in the low 80s, but last week it was in the high 90s. I was away at the Huge, good time to be away. But when the temperatures are extremely high, then the 2.3 is going to work without a doubt, no problem whatsoever. But in the colder temperatures, especially as we approach fall and winter, October, November, and December, I'm going to have to bump that down to a 2.1 and possibly even a 1.8. So if you've got a small machine, a 2.5, you can use a 1.8 if you wanted to. And you talk about throwing some sauce, you could. But the greater the gallons per minute, the more diluted that your solution is going to be by default. There's nothing you can do about that. We are downstreaming, not upstreaming like with an XJet. So when you're downstreaming, use the appropriate orifice. I switched from a 2.1 to a 2.3. However, I will keep a 1.8 and a 2.1 on hand and just swap them out if I need to. All right, feel free to ask questions and I'll do my very best to answer. Real quickly, I am putting together a new channel and I'll keep you posted on it as I go. And it will be for all the behind the scenes details of pressure washing. And believe it or not, probably going to be talking some numbers, which I rarely do. So, all right, my name is Mike. They call me the Fresh Rinse. Yo, Holmes, smell you later.